Allen Cooper CPAs, located in the heart of East Nashville, offer a wide variety of tax services for individuals and businesses. Contact them at 615-257-0646 and visit their website, allcooper.com, for a full list of services.
If you want to feel the wind blowing through your hair and see the great city of Nashville at the same time, check out Nashville Scooter Tours. Trekking through the downtown streets to Music Row with Nashville Scooter Tours is safe, eco-friendly, and a whole lot of fun. They use Xenon electric scooters that go 55 miles on a single charge. Find out more by calling 615-290-5563 or book your reservation today at NashvilleScooterTours.com.
Guns, Obamacare, and immigration. Those are the ingredients this week on Political Soup.
Jeff Meeks and Chris Austin invite you to watch your favorite sports event at the Batters Box at 43 Hermitage Avenue in Nashville, Tennessee. The Batters Box offers shuttle service to all Titans home games. It's a great place for friends to gather for the game and after the game. So check out the Batters Box Bar and Grill, and thanks again for sponsoring the show. Bandwidth for today's show is brought to you by SoftLayer.com. We love SoftLayer here at Talkopolis. They are the greatest hosting company ever. They make everything easy. Check out their website at SoftLayer.com. Thanks again for sponsoring the show.
Microcasting for your city. Talkopolis.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Political Soup. I'm Joe Williams, along with my counterpart, Mr. Crom Carmichael. Good to have you back. The one consistency that we've had this entire time.
I've made every show.
You've been here every
Yes.
time.
That's good, I guess.
And you've always been on the right side.
I've always been here. Yes.
Would you ever sit on the left side?
I'd sit on the left. It's okay. I can sit on the left.
Hold that thought. We go to our left and welcome in. Well, we're picking on you early.
That's fine.
Bob Tuke, an attorney here in Nashville, very politically active, former chairman of the Tennessee Democratic Committee. Our normal host here on this side is your old friend Chip Forrester, and it's just good to have you guys kind of in line and come and bring. I'm here in the middle. These are the ground rules. I sit in the middle and try to keep both sides from. I hate to say killing each other because that's not fair. It's just to keep everybody.
It's okay even if we agree. These are the issues of the day.
Absolutely. And Crom and I have known each other for years, and so I think we highly respect one another.
That's the best part. One thing my grandfather always told me you better respect, and that is a firearm, a gun. And guys, guns are heavy on everybody's mind right now. And fellas, there doesn't seem to be almost a mid-ground in what we see through media reporting. It's an either or.
Well, I'm not sure about either or. The Dianne Feinstein has brought out her plan, and it's what I found most interesting is that she says everybody has to do all this stuff on behalf of gun control except government employees. Government employees don't have to do it. And if I was trying to create fear among non-government employees, I would do exactly what she's done, and that is to exclude government employees.
Well, and I think even if the current proposal excludes all government employees, my suspicion is that's error. Obviously, the only people, in my view, who should have access to certain kinds of firearms, assault weapons, are people in the military, obviously, people in security, people in police force. I'm a Marine veteran. I fought in Vietnam. I have handled and fired more kinds of weapons than you ever even want to think about. And almost all my Marine friends agree with me that most of those weapons do not belong in the hands of anybody unless they're at war or unless they're trying to keep the peace in a very hostile environment.
The term you used, assault weapon.
Yes.
That's kind of a new term outside of the military that's been brought into this argument. Is that a good term, assault weapon, when we start talking about some of the definitions we've seen?
So long as people understand what it means. In 1994 was enacted the assault weapons ban.
Right.
And that's where that term comes from. There are certain kinds of weapons that are identified by their characteristics as assault weapons, and they're rapid fire, semi-automatic weapons capable of producing a large volume of firepower. And going along with that, of course, you have to have a high capacity magazine so that as you squirt out all those rounds, you got plenty more rounds to shoot. I think it's insane to have the public have access to those kinds of weapons, because I've used them in anger in a war, and I don't think they have any place among normal people. And I don't know any hunters that use them.
I will say this, I'm baffled, because most of the handguns that people own today are semi-automatic. And let's be clear what a semi-automatic is. A semi-automatic is merely a handgun where you have to pull the trigger each time you want a bullet to come out. It is not a machine gun. And Dianne Feinstein is trying to say that if you have a semi-automatic pistol, that you are in violation. She's trying to get control of those things. And that's just wrong. And the thing that offends me more than anything else is Congress doesn't mind having protection for itself and its members, but the public be damned. And if Dianne Feinstein should be protected, then I ought to have the right to protect myself. And Mayor Bloomberg, he came down to Washington and gave this big speech on it, and then he's got 5 security guards. I think we actually have a little videotape to show how he reacted to the question of whether or not he would give up his security. And I'd like to show that.
Kind of interesting. Let's see the tape.
Mayor Bloomberg, how you doing? Jason, I grew up in Brooklyn.
Okay,
In the spirit of gun control, will you disarm your entire security team?
You will get right back to you.
You'll get back to me? Would you like a sip of my soda? Mayor Bloomberg, why can you defend yourself but not the majority of Americans? I mean, look at the team of security you got. And you're an advocate for gun control? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. I'm counting. There are probably more.
Sir, how you doing today?
I'm good.
How you doing? Officer Stockton, NYPD. Do you have ID on you, sir?
I'm credentialed for this.
May I see it, please? Thank you.
Sure.
Why don't we get over here to the streets?
No. Do you even have jurisdiction?
Absolutely, yes, I do. Security jurisdiction, absolutely, sir.
I asked the question. There's nothing. What did I violate?
I'm not saying you did. I was asking if you have ID. That's all. If you have ID or credentials, I can
Hold this.
Thank you very much. You have a photo ID, sir? Driver's license?
Well, I'm not going to give you my DC driver's license. Is this standard procedure for the press? It's standard procedure to be questioning members of the press.
Standard procedure ID, sir?
Yeah, it was issued by the conference we were just at.
Well, can I see ID? Photo ID that matches that name, please?
Sure thing.
Thank you, sir.
You going to write it down now?
Oh, no, sorry. You're
going to write it? You're going to write it? Okay. We good?
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah. It's none of your business when my date of birth is. See, look. We're getting followed. Ask Bloomberg a question, we get followed. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. I'm counting. There are probably more.
Interesting clip, Crom. Now, I'm going to tell you, as a journalist myself, I thought he was a little overly aggressive at first, and the crack about the drink, that was a little over the edge.
It was really, there was one central point to it.
But from that
Mayor
point on,
Mayor Bloomberg, are you going to give up your weapons that are providing you security with guns?
And of course he should not. And the answer to that is absolutely not.
Then why should you or why should I?
Because we don't require security. Nobody might want to kill me, likely, although there's a number of people in Nashville who might otherwise.
You are an attorney and you feel comfortable saying that.
But the truth is, elected officials and people in certain positions absolutely have to have security, sad to say, in this country. And I want those security people to be properly armed. Now, I don't think citizens need to have that kind of weaponry. I don't care about pistols, to be honest with you. That's not the issue. The issue are the kinds of weapons that were used most recently in Connecticut and also in Aurora, Colorado, used up in Oregon. We don't need weapons like that in the hands of the general public.
Well, what's interesting is this. Bob and I live in nice neighborhoods, and we don't have a bunch of people running around shooting people. But in Chicago, there are a lot of people who own guns up there for self-protection. And I don't think they should have to give up their firearms. The law-abiding citizens in Chicago who simply want to be protected from the criminals, I don't think they should have to give up their guns just because Dianne Feinstein. You know, what's interesting is when she came out with her bill, you know how many people in 10 years have been killed by these mentally ill people? 350. How many children have been killed by drunk drivers in that same 10-year period? Thousands, tens of thousands. So you're going to do away with cars? Are you going to do away with booze?
It's
No.
just not the right argument. There have been more than 30,000 people killed with guns in the last 10 years, and we need to do better in controlling how we deal with guns, who gets access to guns. I don't want to take away anyone's guns if they're appropriate kinds of weapons for people to have. Of course they need to have personal security. They also need to be able to go hunt, but they don't need assault weapons such as the Bushmaster.
All right, so the devil's in the details, and that's what I
Yes.
want to know. You say no problem with pistols. Dianne says, the senator says,
Yeah.
you know, at some point, and I happen to own one that would be considered an assault weapon because of the clip size.
No, I don't
No,
think
it's not
it
the
would.
clip size. It's
Oh,
the action
I don't know
of
the
it.
size of your clip.
Yeah.
It's the action. It's the action
And
of
it's a
it.
semi-automatic with a 14-shot clip, so
No.
it's over 10, and therefore,
Well, again, the devil's in the details. If you look at the definition of assault weapons, they have specific characteristics, and yours may or may not fit those, but that's the kind of thing that a good, healthy debate can flesh out. And
what's the number then on details? What's the number on the magazine?
well, I think the number on the magazine is 10 rounds. I don't think anybody ought to have a magazine for either a rifle or a pistol that holds more than 10 rounds. There's no reason for it. Hunters don't need it. You don't need it for self-protection. And I will tell you something, you know, when I had led my Marines in Vietnam on patrol, they were forbidden to fire more than to fire on automatic. They were required to fire one round at a time, carefully aimed. If you do that, you do not need a big capacity clip. And that's in war.
Well, Bob and I agree on one thing, and that is what the definition of an assault weapon ought to be, and that is more or less a machine gun, or a gun where you depress the trigger and multiple bullets come out without having to release the trigger.
No, I
and
think
that
an
is
assault. I think an assault weapon also includes semi-automatic weapons that are intended to kill people and that have a high magazine capacity, such as the one used in Connecticut. That was not an automatic weapon. That was a semi-automatic weapon, but that criminal was permitted to fire round after round. I don't know how many ultimately were fired, but hundreds of rounds into little children.
Here's the difficulty with that argument. A semi-automatic pistol with 10 bullets, all three of us are saying should be legal, correct, or should not be taken away. I think we're all just finished saying that. Now, if that guy had gone in there with 2 guns and 2 extra clips, he would have shot just as many children. And then everybody would be saying, oh, we got to take away that gun, rather than recognizing that it's much better to put in security. You know, Bloomberg won't give up his security. Fine, then let's put security in the schools. All you have to do is terminate one lazy bureaucrat and put in a security guard. Every school has either one worst bureaucrat or one worst teacher. Get rid of them, put in a security guard, and then if we want to take away the high capacity clips, fine. If we want to take away the machine gun types, but here's what I don't like. Dianne Feinstein says military style weapons. Not military weapons, military style. Then she gets to define military style however she wants to. And she is defining a pistol that is a semi-automatic as a military style weapon under her definition in the bill. She's made that very clear.
When that bill comes out, it will be very precise as to what an assault weapon is. And I want to disagree with you on what he could have done with a pistol. Even well-trained policemen, Marines, soldiers, they hit approximately 15 to 17% of the targets that they're shooting at, and that's when they're calm. That guy, if he'd have had a couple of pistols and a couple of extra magazines, there's no way in the world he would have been able to shoot 26 people. There just isn't. He simply would not have been able to do it. And while he was reloading, he might have gotten stopped like that guy was stopped in one of the movie theaters. So it's really important that they not have access to the kind of weaponry that that fella in Connecticut had.
I got to ask you sure about that 15-70%?
Yes.
Number? Because
absolutely.
If that's the case, they would not pass and qualify for a handgun carry permit in the state of Tennessee.
Well, no, I'm talking about people actually firing in a circumstance that the police fire in and so on. I'm sorry, I don't mean at a target.
Okay. That suddenly becomes very believable just from the adrenaline rush that's going on. It's kind of hard to shoot straight, people shooting at you.
The truth is, even my well-trained Marines, I had to keep reminding them and retraining on making sure that we're firing on target.
And that is the ultimate situation.
The official gun-free zones are the problem. That is where virtually every one of these mentally ill people go. The fellow in Colorado on the movies, he went past 2 movie theaters that allowed guns to go to the ones that was gun-free. He was mentally ill, but he wasn't stupid. So he goes to the place where he knows he's the only one with a firearm, and then he opens fire and shoots people. So if you want to stop the mentally ill, first of all, we should be focusing on identifying the mentally ill people, not identifying 150 million people who may or may not own a handgun. And so the data trying to manage a database of 150 million people is nuts to begin with, and you will not use it to identify any of the real problems, which are the mentally ill people.
Those are not mutually exclusive. Of course we should identify mentally ill people, but we also should have universal background checks. We also ought to have universal carry permits. We can do all these things together. And we should have higher security in schools and responsible officers in the school. What do they call them? They've got a catchword for them.
Resource officers.
Resource officers. That's fine. I think it's a good idea. But I think we ought to do all of those things because we've had too many kids killed.
Well, we have a nice overlap on security guards in the school. I think that would lick at least 75% of the problem, and I think that making everybody register handguns licks virtually none of it, if that's all you're doing.
But it sounds like we've got a lot of agreement here, because I think you'll agree with the background checks in all situations.
A federal background check?
At least a state, if not federal.
Let me say this: if the federal government has the ability, to do federal background checks, then the federal government has the ability to do voter ID. I'll marry the two together. If Bob and I can agree that the federal government has the ability to do background checks, then by golly, we can do voter ID too.
I can't resist this. The background check is to keep people who don't need to be using firearms from having firearms. But voter ID is meant to keep people who should be voting from voting. So no, I won't marry those two together. But there's lots of different ways to solve this problem. If we want to have federal and state background checks and adequate state background checks satisfy the federal requirement, that's fine with me. All I want to do is address all of it so that we don't have these kids killed anymore.
Well, I couldn't get a complete consensus from these two guys on this one, but I bet I can on this one thing, and that is coming up April 15th, Uncle Sam's going to be wanting some money. We won't get into how much, but if you're trying to figure out how to figure out how much you're going to owe him, you can go see our friends over at All and Cooper CPAs. Now, they do everything from preparing 1040s to handling all of your business accounting functions. Just check them out at allcooper.com. When we come back, the Affordable Health Care Act, also known as
Obamacare.
That's his word. We'll be back on Political Soup.